Hi my loves, welcome back or welcome to my channel. Welcome if you guys are new. Today we have a fun little video. I did my first tier ranking video last year for ranking every book that I read, and I actually had a really fun time, and I was like, maybe we should do some more tier ranking videos this year. So that is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be tier ranking every popular series I have read. I've been getting requests to do this for a long time now, not necessarily a tier ranking, but just like talking about popular series I have read and if I recommend them. And so I've kind of compiled a list of series I think are the most popular. So this is across just like the most kind of iconic series, things like Twilight and all of that kind of stuff. And then we also have some just really popular BookTok series that have been made popular because of BookTok. We've got quite a few. And whilst I have read a lot more series than this, I've kind of done, as I said, the most popular ones. And also my rule to myself was I have to have read at least 2 books in that series to be able to form a proper opinion on them. I think we've got about 30 around about series to go through today. It doesn't look as many on the little tier ranking list, but you know, we do have a lot. I don't know what order these are in, but I feel like we should get started. Okay, so I have my computer here, which is why we're going to be looking down. I feel like first of all, we should run through my ranks, what I've put up there. At the very top, this is the best you can absolutely get, is It Lives Rent Free in my head. These are series that I think about non-stop, that I think about every single day, characters that have really like stuck with me, worlds that have stuck with me. This is a very high rank to get into. It takes a lot to get into this rank. By the way, I do want to say I am a series girl through and through. Like, I love a good fantasy series especially, or even an interconnected romance series. I love them so much. The 2 series I didn't actually include in this are Magnolia Parks and Boys of Tommen. Better stop there. I don't know why I didn't, but you guys know how much I love them, so that's fine. Next we have Reminds Me Why I Love series, or just reminds me why I love reading. Books that like I think are almost perfect, if not perfect. There is not one single bad book in that series. Everything is wonderful. I didn't have a bad time whatsoever. I didn't get into a dud whilst reading the series. A fun time is literally, as it explains, I would recommend them. They're really easy to read. They're fun series. They're not boring. They might not be perfect, but you're there for the fun. You're not there for perfect series. There are some misses. These are kind of ones that, you know, there'll be 1 or 2 books in the series where you're just like, you have to get through this book to enjoy the rest of the series. Or there's like one that you have to get over, maybe middle book syndrome, anything like that. This was a struggle / DNFing a series. These are going to be ones that I think maybe like other people could really enjoy. Personally, it just didn't hit for me. Or just ones that I found quite boring and I really had to like push myself to continue the series. And then I wouldn't recommend. I don't know that there are any, maybe like 1 or 2 in this series or in this category, actually probably a few, but these are ones I just wouldn't bother with. I'd prioritize other things. All right, let's do our first one. So first of all, as I said, random order, we have the Twisted series. Now I read the first 2 books in this series. This is by Anna Huang. I will say I actually have read other Anna Huang books that I enjoy, but this series for me is, I've said this a few times, but it's a really big miss for me. I'm actually gonna put it in I wouldn't recommend. This is probably one of my least favorite series. I'm starting on a very negative note, but I promise I don't plan to be negative. I just didn't like the love interests. I really, like everyone says Twisted Games is the one that like really gets good. I could not with Twisted Games. I could not with their romance. I was not shipping it. I was not shipping them. I didn't like the crawling scene whatsoever. So excited for that scene and it was so disappointing. But yeah, I didn't like the first one either. I just didn't like their chemistry. I felt like the guys are very obsessive and possessive, and to an extent that can be good, but this was kind of a little bit too far for me. So yeah, this one was probably a miss for me. I wouldn't recommend. I think there's Anna Huang books like The Striker or like that series I think is really good. All right, moving on to a classic, a cult classic is Twilight. I am unfortunately part of this cult. I love this series. I don't care how bad it is. This is gonna go in Reminds Me Why I Love series because truly, hey, I just realized I should change the square. Sorry, let's change that now. There we go. That's nicer. Sorry. One of like those core series for me. Yes, I know it is not a perfect series. By far, there are so many things that I don't love about it, but also that's why I love it, if that makes sense. Things like Renesmee, like why is she, why, and why did, with the imprinting, like there's so much there that I just like makes me so angry, but kind of in a good way. Like, you know, when you're frustrated at a book, but like in a good way, that's what the Twilight series is to me. It also is one of those series that like got me into reading. Like I have this very vivid memory of going on a beach holiday when I was younger. I had gone to the library, got on the first 2 books. We were there for a week, mind you, okay? I think I was was 11, 12 at the time. We went on this beach holiday and I did nothing but sit and read those books. And then I finished the first two within like the first 3 days of being there. I made my family like drive around in this small beach town and drive to similar towns nearby just to find the next two books in this series so I could read it. I was so annoying about it. It just holds a really special place in my heart. The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. I feel like we all know that I love this series. We're gonna put it in Reminds Me Why I Love series. There wasn't a lot I could fault about it, honestly. I loved our characters. The plot twists in this were honestly crazy. Like never in my wildest dreams could I have guessed those plot twists. I personally think it's a really fun series. It's a dystopian YA series if you haven't heard of it. It's Lynette Noni's most popular series. Not my favorite series by her. I prefer the Madoran Chronicles, but still a great trilogy, I think. There were no misses. Really, really good. I think most people would enjoy this, to be honest. Shadow and Bone. Now again, Shadow and Bone holds a special place in my heart, but I think we're gonna put it in a fun time. There's definitely moments in this book where, or like the series as a whole, that I did feel a little bit slow, but I read this series super quickly, and I think it is a wonderful introduction to Six of Crows, to the Grishaverse. I actually like the second book the most. I know that's an unpopular opinion. The second book is actually my favorite. The last one was my least favorite, but I still thought it was good. Let me know in the comments, but I personally am a Mal and Alina ship. I do not ship the Darkling. In the TV series, that's a different story because it's played by Ben Barnes, but in the book, we don't like the Darkling. I know that this series gets a lot of hate, but I think it's important to remember it is a YA series, guys, and it's like an introduction to the world. And next is Flawless by Elsie Silver, or the Chestnut Springs series, rather, I should say, as a whole. I've actually read the entire series. So far, all of these I have completed. I'll tell you when I haven't. Oh, apart from Twisted Love, of course. But the Flawless series, look, I wouldn't run to read it, but I do think I preferred it over her Wild Love series, her other series that she came out with. I think it's a fun cowboy romance series. We do have some really fun protagonists, but in saying that, I don't think everyone is a hit. I think there are definitely a few misses in this series, so I'm gonna put it here. Like some of them I did have a really good fun time with, but I think Flawless, the first one, I didn't love. I did not like the last one. Did really like Powerless and Reckless and Heartless. Like those three middle ones are pretty good in my mind. Elsie Silver though, I feel like is one that you go in not expecting the absolute world. You just kind of go in for a fun time. All right, The Crimson Moth. This is a duology. This one's funny for me because I read them so far apart, and I think if you read the back to back, you would have a better experience. I think I'm gonna go for It Was a Fun Time because the first book I absolutely devoured. I read it so quickly. The second one I wasn't as addicted to, I wasn't as obsessed with. It was a kind of funny situation with the romance as well, I feel. I just wasn't rooting for it as much as I was in the first book, but you know, they're really fun, easy YA fantasies. For that reason, I do think it is worth saying that like it's a fun time. Okay, Throne of Glass. This is where it's gonna be hard. So I'm gonna put this in Reminds Me Why I Love series, and a few of you might be like, Freya, what are you talking about? Why are you doing that? This is amazing. Look, I don't disagree with you. I think this is an incredible series, and to some, putting this next to The Prison Healer and Twilight may be like making you not trust me. But my reasoning is, I've never been a massive Sarah J Maas fan. Whilst I really like her work and I love her characters and her world building, something about her writing makes it really hard for me to connect to her characters. I can't say exactly what it is, it's just her style of writing, her style of prose. There are elements that make it really hard for me to fully connect with them. And whilst like I love the characters for who they are and I have a really strong sense of those characters, I don't have that connection, you know? It's a rare connection. It's really rare, but I feel like a lot of other people have experienced that with this series and I just haven't, which is really sad for me. In saying that, I can respect how incredibly well thought out that series was. Did I put ACOTAR on here? Yes, I did. We'll get to that later. But I can respect how incredible that series was. When you think of the characters, where we met them at the beginning of the series to where they ended up is insane. I feel like I've always felt a little bit left out, not being obsessed with the Throne of Glass series, but it is what it is, guys. All right, speaking of series we are obsessed with, now we can kind of get to them. The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. Now this is always, again, it's another cult classic. Don't worry, it's going up here. We just have to slowly move it. Another cult classic for a good reason, and I am part of that cult. I'm very proud of that. If anything, my love for this was just reignited with Sunrise on the Reaping, and oh my gosh, cannot wait until November this year because that movie is going to destroy me. I feel like The Hunger Games introduced me to political, like dystopian kind of series, and this is probably one of the first series I have felt truly connected to the characters. I love Katniss and Peter as protagonists. Like, I know that Katniss for some people can be a bit annoying, but I personally love her. I think she's a wonderful protagonist. Again, it holds a special place in my heart because it was one of the series that got me into reading, but this world lives rent-free in my head. Also, the movies are something I watch over and over and over again just for comfort. Like, they're just my comfort movies. I know that they're not comfort. Like, I end up getting sucked in. I put them on in the background and then I end up getting sucked in. I love them so much and I've reread the series. Obsessed, obsessed, obsessed. Speaking of series I am obsessed with, the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. I actually think we're gonna put that up in lives rent free in my head. Pretty much because I'm obsessed with the Magnificent North, which is where this series is set. It is the world Stephanie Garber has created. Literally cannot recommend this series enough. I think it is wonderful. I think it is the perfect trilogy. I know some people don't like the third book in the trilogy. I was one of the people that really enjoyed it. The second book is still my favorite, but the third book I thought held up. I liked the ending. I liked the multiple POVs. I also really love Evangeline as a protagonist. I think she's fun and whimsy and a little bit clumsy, and I love that. And I also love Jax, because like, who doesn't love Jax? Things we never got over. So this is the first in the Knockmount series. There are 3 in the Knockmount series, just had to double check. I'm gonna say same with Flawless. Like, there are a few misses, but honestly, it wasn't the worst series I've ever read. I know, again, some people hate this series, and I will say, I think these books, like every single one of them, could be like 200 pages shorter, but I do think they're really fun romance reads. Like, I was really, really into them. For being 500 pages each, at least, they're very easy to read. They really, really are, and they're not perfect by any means, and I don't love the first one. The second and third are like good in my mind, but it's like a 3-star series overall. I feel like that's what this tier is, like 3-star series overall. I'd recommend if you want, or like a craving, a small town romance series. All right, The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. This, I'm so sorry, okay? I'm sorry. Was a DNF for me? I know. I am completely alone in this opinion. No, I know 1 or 2 people who agree with me, but like on the whole, I'm alone. The Cruel Prince for me just didn't do it. Let me explain. I read the first 2 books in this trilogy, okay? So that's why I put it here, because technically I DNF'd it. It was a struggle to get through for me. I didn't like Jude, our main protagonist, at all. There was nothing I liked about her, and usually I'm pretty good at overlooking an annoying protagonist, as you'll see. We'll get into that. Jude, I just couldn't do. I don't know what it was. First person present tense is always going to be a hit or a miss for me. I'm someone who prefers third person past tense. I think this was one of the earlier books I read that was first person present tense, where it really annoyed me because it made the sentences feel clunky. It made the pacing really weird in my head. I actually liked the setting of it. I liked the world. I just didn't like any of the characters, and I didn't like the romance either. I'm not one for a bully romance, like ever. I don't think I've ever been. But let me know. I feel like I'm very much alone in that one, as I said. That's okay. We're being brave here. Okay, Percy Jackson. See, I said I included some classics. Percy Jackson by Rick Riordan. This series is gonna go in a fun time. Like, I could put it in Reminds Me Why I Love series, but unpopular opinion, popular opinion, I like the Heroes of Olympus series more because I really like Piper and Leo. That is the interconnected series to Percy Jackson. We have overlapping characters. I didn't include that series because I feel like it's not as big as Percy Jackson. Still love it though. This world is so much fun. To me, it's so on the same as Shadow and Bone. Like, it's a world that I feel so happy in, but I've got other series in that world that I love more than them. These are like the foundations for the world. Percy Jackson sets up your foundations, and this was my Roman Empire when I was young. No pun intended. Also introduced me to a few of my favorite characters. I love Annabeth. I also just love like a training / academy / school setting. Like, I'm always gonna love that. All right, next is Spark of the Everflame. So this is still getting continued, but I have read all of the books that are out. I think I'm gonna put this in Why I Love series. Now, I know that DM can be a very, very, very annoying protagonist, and sometimes you're like, why are you doing what you were doing? I know she can really ruin the series for a lot of people, but on the whole, she doesn't annoy me too much, and I love Luther. And I love this world. I think it's a really fun world. I think it's really magical. It's really almost whimsical, but like high stakes whimsical. It's not like Once Upon a Broken Heart whimsical. And Penn Cole writes a very addictive read. I sped through these books. I think they're really fun. So I always recommend Spark of the Everflame. I think it's a really fun read that gives me like giddy feelings. You know, when you start a fantasy book and it gives you those like giddy magical feelings, like endorphins almost. That's what I got when I was reading this series. Glow of the Everflame. Oh my gosh, amazing. Heat of the Everflame was so long, but like also kind of went by really quickly. All right, Powerless. That is gonna go here. I think there are some misses. Like, honestly, between this and it was a struggle, but I did have fun reading this book. I think it's a really fun read. The first book. The next 2 books, I didn't like Reckless. Fearless was okay, but it felt really oddly paced. And I'm not sure if that was her or her editor, to be honest, but it felt really oddly paced. I feel like the actual plot was great. It just, everything happened in the last, like, I don't know, 20%, when it really could have been spread out over the entire book, or at least gotten like little hints to what was happening throughout the entire book. I also love the novella Powerful in this series. I think it is really, really wonderful. That's my favorite in the entire series, so that's kind of funny. All right, Divine Right Rivals. Now with Divine Rivals, I am going to be also including Wild Reverence, and for that reason, it is going to go lives rent free in my head because Wild Reverence and Divine Rivals as a whole, oh my gosh. Like some of the best writing I have ever read. One of my favorite worlds. And when I tell you Iris and Ronan, and honestly our other couple in Wild Reverence, the definition of soulmates. Like when you think of like actual souls connecting, it does it for me every single time. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Fourth Wing. I feel like a lot of you know where I stand, especially if you watch the podcast. You probably hear me talk about it all the time. But Fourth Wing for me is like, we're going to go fun time for this one. Probably should say there are some misses, shouldn't I? But I like it more than Powerless. We're going to go here for now. I have started to think recently that I need to reread this series because I read Fourth Wing when it came out. Very, very early days when it came out. And then I didn't read Iron Flame until it came out. And honestly, I think I'd forgotten too much of what happened in Fourth Wing, like the small details, to go into Iron Flame. And then again, same with Onyx Storm. I think I need to reread this entire trilogy and I think I'd have a different experience because from what I hear, there are very small details that make this trilogy good. Or not trilogy. It's not a trilogy, guys. There's 3 books out, but it's still going. But yeah, there are very small details that make this like next level good. I think I'm missing them. I think that's totally on me. I think I also picked these books up when I wasn't in the mood for them because I did really enjoy Fourth Wing. I love the academy setting. The only thing I think will continue to limit my love for this series is the fact that I don't love the characters. I'm not obsessed with any of the characters. I love the dragons and those characters, but I'm not obsessed with any of our human characters and I don't love Romance Line at all. So I didn't like Iron Flame, but I did like Onyx Storm more than I thought I was going to. So that one's really tricky for me. I don't know. Should I do a reread? I think I should. Shatter Me is going to go in This Is a Struggle / DNF. Let me explain, please. I feel like I'm very defensive today. I don't know why, but Shatter Me, I think I would have loved if I read when I was younger, but I only read this a few years ago. I read the first 3 books, I think, in this series, which is the original trilogy, and then the series has kind of built over the years. I liked a few of our characters, like I love Kenji. Again, didn't love our main kind of romance line. I know, crazy. I think if I'd read this when I was younger, I would have really, really enjoyed it. So I don't know. This one for me though, I didn't continue the series. I stopped it after book 3, so it's gonna have to go there because technically it was a DNF, and I did have to push myself through it. I liked the 3rd book, but the first 2 just weren't really it for me. They just weren't hitting. Maybe I just wasn't in the mood though. I don't know. All right, City of Bones by Miss Cassandra Clare. I've only included 1 series by her because there's so many series by her, and I'm like, we'll go with her most iconic one, which I feel like is City of Bones. I know Clockwork Angel / Infernal Devices very close behind, but we're going with City of Bones because it was her first one. We're gonna put this in a fun time. Whilst the Shadowhunters Chronicles are on a god tier level for me, I love them to bits. I think that City of Bones is a very interesting series. It's my least favorite in the Shadowhunters world. It's hilarious when you think back to it, but when I was reading that when I was like 13, if you know that trope, when that happened, I remember having the most vivid, visceral reaction, and I was just like, that cannot happen. Absolutely not. This is the best romance I've ever experienced. How are you going to ruin it like that? That was a very, very intense moment in my reading journey. And for that reason, I feel like we're going to go into fun time. There were definitely some flaws, but you know, it's a YA series. 6 of Crows, that immediately can go up here to lives rent free in my head. Do I need to explain on this one? 6 of Crows duology connected to Shadow and Bone in case you didn't know. One of the best duologies I have ever read. This found family is my favorite found family I have ever read about. Also just some of these characters are my favorite characters of all time. Like Jesper and Cass. I love them all so much, and the ending of Crooked Kingdom is diabolical. Dance of Thieves. I think we're gonna put this one in Why I Love series. I really enjoyed the Dance of Thieves, but just saying, in case you haven't got into it, this is a duology by Mary E. Pearson. It is recommended that you read the Kiss of Deception series, the Remnant Chronicles, just there, before you go into Dance of Thieves. I didn't know that. So you can technically go into it and still have a great time, but I think if you want a more deeper understanding of the world and everything, you read the Remnant Chronicles first, which are really good as well. But honestly, I had a really great time with this one. I thought the tension between our characters was really, really good. I love a bit of a cat and mouse situation, to be honest, and I love an undercover situation. So it had a lot of the tropes that I loved, and I really like that medieval kind of setting it has. Court of Thorns and Roses. We've all been waiting for this one. I don't know where I'm gonna put this. I think I'm gonna put it here. It's a fun series. I don't care who you are, but I don't think you can deny that it's a fun series. And honestly, there wasn't that many misses in it. Some of the stuff that happened, I was shocked by, and I don't know that I love. I did like Feyre as a character as well. She was a little bit annoying at times, but to me, she kind of reminded me of myself because I've been like a painter, especially when I read it. I was really into painting. The only thing I don't have is her combat skills, because are you kidding me? Absolutely not. One thing I don't like is when people judge you for loving Court of Thorns and Roses, because you cannot deny that it's a fun series. It's a fun fantasy series. Velaris is one of my favorite worlds I have ever entered. And when people have this like idea about this series, that it's just like this full-on smut series, and like, yes, there are smutty scenes, but like, okay, great. And they really judge you for liking it, and they haven't even read it half the time, just saying. It just annoys me, to be frank. Like, I just feel like there's a lot of different ideas attached to this series on what it actually is. Like, there is so much more action and plot and character development than romance and smut at the end of the day. Speaking of romance, the Mile High series. This is the Windy City series by Liz Tomford. I actually had a really fun time with this series. I feel like it's gonna go, oh no, you know what? It'll go here. There were definitely some misses in this series, but the books that were good were really good, so it's kind of hard. I love The Right Move, and Rewind It Back was so good. Those are two of some of my favorite sports romances I have ever read. So it's kind of hard. Maybe we should put it in fun time. We'll put it in fun time because of those two books, because I feel like there definitely are books that I didn't love. Like, I don't love Mile High, I don't love Caught Up, but the books that are good are really good, and I highly recommend this series. It is basically a interconnected standalone series. I would recommend reading it in order, but you don't have to. Following millionaire sports players and their love lives, basically, and they all know each other, they all connect with each other. You get to see your favorite characters from past books in the next books. It's really, really fun. And Rewind It Back I thought was the best conclusion. Okay, Lord of the Rings. We're getting close to done, guys. That's crazy already. Lord of the Rings, easily rent-free in my head. This is the best series I have ever read in my entire life, and I will always die on that hill. It's incredible. What are you doing if you haven't read it? I get comments all the time being like, oh, should I pick it up? And I'm like, yes, pick it up. Because to me, it will always be one of the best series I have ever read. It is literally the stepping stone to every modern day fantasy book you've ever read. And J.R.R. Tolkien puts so much work into his world, it's insane. Like, I've never, ever seen a fantasy author, even Brandon Sanderson, put that much work into a fantasy book. The end of the third book is all just glossaries and family trees and maps and background and history, and it's insane. Yeah, that series is literally my favorite series of all time. If I had to name one book and series that are the best of all time, it's that one. Another great one though, Dark Shade of Magic. I think we're gonna put this in Why I Love series, just because there were a few little things, but overall I'm obsessed with this series. V. Schwab is a wonderful author. I can't wait to read more of her works. I think she's so incredibly talented. I really want to read Bury Our Bones, and then I want to go on to Fragile Threads of Power, which is connected to the Darker Shade of Magic, which I'm excited about because I get to see my favorite characters again. But the Darker Shade of Magic is just such a moody, atmospheric kind of series with really great politics, really great world building. If you have been wanting to get into high fantasy, I honestly always suggest Dark Shade of Magic, because I wouldn't really classify it as like high fantasy, but I do think it has some really great like building blocks to high fantasy, as in, as I said before, the politics and world building. It's a good taster. See if you'll like it, and the characters are amazing. Will of the Many. You know what? I think this one's gonna have to go up here because these two books, it's still getting continued, but I've read the first two books that are out and they have made a serious impact on me. I put this one in because I was like, honestly, this is getting a lot of buzz at the moment for good reason. This is just a masterfully executed series. There is nothing wrong with this series, let me tell you. Yes, your brain's gonna hurt for the first like 200 pages of both books, to be honest, but then you're gonna have the best experience of your entire reading journey. I haven't met someone who didn't enjoy Will of the Many yet. Speaking of incredible journeys, Brandon Sanderson. Now, this one is gonna go... This one's hard. I think we've got Mistborn as well. Oh my gosh, I don't know, guys. I really don't know. We're gonna come back to him, okay? We're gonna put him back for now, because I really don't know. Okay, Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This is a fun little trilogy. I read this such a long time ago, but I read it so quickly. I'm gonna say it's a fun time. To be honest, I know that some people really don't enjoy it, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good little series. It's a YA mystery series in case you haven't read it. I do think it goes a bit extreme. Like, some of the plot twists and what happens is like, would that actually happen to a 14-year-old, 15-year-old girl? I can't remember how old Pip is. No, she's older than that. I don't know. My point is, the plot twists are a bit extreme sometimes, but I thought it was a fun series and I read it so quickly. It was actually one of the first series that got me into more, I guess, like different genres, because I've always read. Like, I have never really had a break in reading and like had to reignite my love for it. I've always read. For a while I was reading a lot more slowly and I was reading purely high fantasy books. Like, I would take my time on one high fantasy book for months. Then I picked up, I think it was Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and closely after that, I think it was Daisy Jones or Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And I was like, oh my God, there's a whole new world out there with all these different genres. And then I started reading more because it's so much easier to read so many more books when they're not not like 700 pages of really dense fantasy, which I love, but sometimes it's nice to have a little brain break. Next we have the Inheritance games. I'm gonna say that this was a struggle slash DNF for me because I did DNF this series. I had really high hopes for this series because it had been pitched to me as Knives Out. Knives Out is one of my favorite movies, and to me this just didn't really give it. I feel like there was a really promising start and I did like some of our characters, but as the series continued, I only read the first 2 books. I just didn't think the second book was very good. I feel like there was a lot of repetition in what was happening plot-wise, character-wise. Very underwhelmed by it, but some people love it, so you could love it. I don't know. Don't take my word for that one. Maybe for the rest, but not that one. All right, Mistborn. Mistborn is gonna go in This Reminds Me Why I Love series. I know that for sure. I love this series. I have convinced every one of my friends to read this series. I convinced my partner to read this series who hasn't read a fantasy book ever, and he loved it. I just think it's really wonderful. I think there are some crazy plot twists that you never see coming. I love our world. I love our sense of found family. It's a really great introduction to the Cosmere. If you're wanting to get into Brandon Sanderson's world, I would recommend starting with Mistborn. I just think it's a really great introduction. And thinking of that, no. You know what? We're gonna have to put him up here. We're gonna have to put him up here. I know I haven't finished the series, but I have read 3 books and all of them have been at least 1,200 pages. So I feel like out of any of these books, I've experienced the most time in this world, even though I haven't finished the series. And my time in that world has been insane. And I am obsessed with our characters. I love Shallan. I love Kaladin. I love Syl. I love Syl, guys. Syl's my favorite character. If you saw my wrap up, I just ranted about Oathbringer for a long time. And I feel like that is all my thoughts. So I'm not gonna repeat it. Oh, that's all. But yeah, that's our little ranking list. So I feel like that's pretty good. We can take one final look. So we have Lives Rent Free. We have Reminds Me Why I'm Obsessed with series. I feel like that's a very solid stack. Those 2 at least. Fun Time. There are some misses. And this was a struggle and I wouldn't recommend. There's only 1 I wouldn't recommend. That's pretty good. I just realized I didn't include Zodiac Academy. Zodiac Academy is probably the only other one. I probably didn't include a lot of books in this, so if you're like, oh, why didn't you include this one? I probably just forgot. I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. My brain is like struggling at the moment. I probably would put Zodiac Academy and I wouldn't recommend because I've read more than 2 books in that series. Well, I've read 2 books in that series and it's a vibe series, guys. It's not and high fantasy series. I think that's a solid ranking, to be honest. I have so much fun doing tier rankings, so I hope that was fun for you. I hope you enjoyed. As I said, one of my favorite things to do. But yeah, that brings us to the end of this video. If there is a series that you really want my opinion on, leave it in the comments and I'll just reply to your comment and tell you what like a tier I would put it in. I'll try and reply to everyone's because yeah, more than happy to do that if I forgot some series that you really want an opinion on or like recommendation whether to read or not. That is all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you've stayed till the end, thank you so much for being here. It truly means the absolute world to me. I love you guys so much and I will see you in my next video.